Alongside Brett Taveau, author of Unpacking Greatness, a book you can find on Amazon. Brett, this was the MVS game for the Chiefs, able to beat the Bengals 23-20. MVS goes over 100 yards. We're going to look at a couple plays here, allowed him to get open and obviously make a huge impact on this game when the Chiefs needed him, down to only 3 receivers at the end of the game.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
All right, well, let's get started with this one we just kind of highlighted here. And this one, a half roll boot. Maybe not surprising that the Chiefs did something a little bit like this with Patrick Mahomes' injury, but let's break this thing down and see how MVS got it open.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are going to line up in kind of what's considered a double tight tray formation. A tray being a attached tight end, and then 2 receivers outside of that. Then you have a close set or a nub tight end up to the top there, out of their 12 personnel look. And the Chiefs have run a little bit of this boot concept where they fake outside zone and then they bring a drag route or an over route across. And I think this is a wrinkle off of that, as you're going to see. They're going to fake the outside zone to the left. The O-linemen are going to protect the gap to their left as well as the backside tight end. And then Kelsey's going to come across here. And McKinnon's going to fake and then protecting thing in his pass. What you have is really an 8-man protection in a 2-man concept, with McKinnon having the option to get out if there's no work. So as you have noted there, Mahomes is going to fake outside zone to the left and sell a boot concept to his right, and Kelsey's going to come across as his kind of personal protector. And then down here, you've got MVS, who's going to sell that over route like he's running to the other side of the field with the boot concept, and then break back out kind of at a high angle, kind of as a corner route, so to speak.
And this is where we've seen the speed kill. I mean, this is where the speed gets you, because these defenders are really respecting. We know the Chiefs run these over routes. We know they have so much success with them. So when they overplay this is where MVS gets back across the field. We saw this a couple times in this particular game, but we saw it here again, where he kind of runs, beats his defender, gets him open grass, and this is where Patrick Mahomes can find him.
Yeah, and so as you have there, the boot action puts that safety directly in the middle of the field, so he's not going to impact this. And then Smith-Schuster down here is going to run a curl that's going to keep that corner from getting depth. And I would assume if this was some sort of cover 3 where that corner continued to bail to take away MVS, that curl would be an option to throw. So this just ton of space is created here.
And we've seen this all year with the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes, not a perfect throw from him, but again, on the gimpy ankle, good enough. And MVS goes up and reaches and grabs that thing. He's made a couple of these clutch catches in this season, but a really good catch from him. One of the biggest downfield plays for the Chiefs in this particular game.
And as you said, speed kills, and the big offseason question was who's going to run all these different routes that Tyreek Hill was running. And obviously I think the easy answer was McCole Hardman, and then he's hurt, and then Tony was filling a lot of that role. And then now, I mean, these are the types of routes that Tyreek Hill ran, just because of, as you said, they have to respect the speed, and they have to be able to get at a top speed in order to sell an over route and then get all the way back out to the opposite sideline.
You can talk about this real quick too, Brett, but for a guy to be throwing outside the hash on one side after a roll and then throwing it, 50 yards, 40 yards to the other side to hit a guy with one ankle hurt, that's a throw that probably very few quarterbacks make to start with in the NFL with 2 good ankles. Patrick Mahomes making this throw pretty good on this particular play.
Man, it's like a video game sometimes with that dude. I mean, it's just like, yeah, here he is, half roll. He's outside the hash and brings that back on a line all the way outside the numbers to the field. Just crazy.
So yeah, I can make that throw on Tecmo Super Bowl all day, but in the NFL it's a little bit more difficult. Makes it look easy. This play is fascinating, and you pointed this out, Brett, and we'll get to it. Y cross. This is the touchdown MVS. It looks amazing again. To the casual fan, this play looks amazing. When you break it down, it's even more amazing, and we're about to show you why.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are they're still in a 12 personnel look like we saw on the last snap, and you've got the 2 tight ends to the same side of the field, and then your 2 wide receivers in a stacked alignment. And a reason for this stacked alignment, one of the advantages is you get natural it helps with the releases, particularly verse man coverage, and you get kind of a natural rub, as you'll see on this over route. And the defender does a good job catching up and getting on his hip. But that's kind of the benefit of a stacked alignment, is to be able to get those releases here.
It's also why we see Kelce a lot of times go in motion and be behind a receiver. It's so that it's hard for those guys to get their hands on him and he can get that free release, which is what helps him to get open down the field. But you pointed this out to me, Brett, and this is what's so fascinating. This particular play the Chiefs are going with, they are flooding the short side of the field, the boundary. So this play is supposed to go toward the left side of the field.
Yeah, and that's what the Chiefs do, breaking down all their third downs last year, just, that they're trying to create 3-level flood concepts in all different parts of the field, from all different personnel groupings, window dressing in different ways, and really just kind of, have Mahomes read high to low like you have there. So he's going to look at Kelce, and this defender is in dominant position to take away Kelce's vertical route here. So he's going to get off that, and then his eyes are going to go to the over route, which is run by Sky Moore there, who was the receiver in the stacked formation that was in the back there.
And then you got Noah Gray. Again, you're trying to get 10 yards on 3rd and 10, so he's the last option. But what does Mahomes see here when he looks at Sky Moore? It's something that changes his mind about where he's going to go. Instead of going to the short side of the field, he decides something else.
Yeah, so if you could leave it there, Jesse. The read here is obviously the over route is the second in the progression here. So depending on who defends that route is where he's going to kind of go next with his eyes. So even though MVS is kind of seen as a force option, so if this defender on the 15-yard line on the numbers, who is over the top of Gray, if he were to sink and take away that over route, then Mahomes probably would have checked it down to Gray there. But he knows that safety now is taking away this over route. So who's going to defend the post here? There's nobody in the middle of the field. And that's what we see next.
Instead of going 1, 2, 3, he goes 1, 2, 4. And we see MVS raise his arms. That's all you need if you're Patrick Mahomes. And he decides to take this shot down the field. And sure enough, he's going to hit this target.
Yeah, and just obviously an incredible throw, but I don't think he gets enough credit for his processing, just because he makes all these crazy athletic plays, off-platform throws. But, I mean, he's one of the best at processing information post-snap and reading space in football. And that's why you get him, because he has it. Not only does he have the physical piece, but the mental piece as well.
Not to mention the athletic ability, once you process all that, to be able to make this throw right here on a line. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we heard MVS afterwards, and I was kind of curious about it, because he did say, okay, what amazed you about this particular throw? He was asked about this particular one. He said, in the post-game press conference, I was Patrick Mahomes' 4th read on this play. And so you think, how can he be the 4th read? He was wide open. What are you thinking here? Well, you just described it to us, Brett. The play is designed to flood the top side of the field. The Chiefs tried to do that. And instead, on the fly, processing this in milliseconds, Patrick Mahomes sees this safety crash up. Because of that, he knows there's no defender on the backside, decides to give MVS a chance, does it while he's dancing in the pocket and torquing his body. Sure enough, the Chiefs get a touchdown out of it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it was massive at that point in the game. I think that put them up 7, right?
Yeah, it did.
To put them up 7, and as you said, just to be able to process all those variables while you've got 4 guys, bearing down on you, your ankle's hurting, you're having to navigate a phone booth from a space standpoint, and then be able to make that throw. It's just that's why he's worth every penny and then some.
All right, Brad. Well, we talk about MVS and then it becomes a Mahomes video breakdown anyway. But let's talk quickly about MVS. We've kind of sung his praises earlier this year about some of the speed, some of the out routes he had. Came up big for the Chiefs when they needed him. Again, they only had 3 receivers available at the end of this game. So a big game for him and a big moment. He's able to go to the Super Bowl. And again, the speed kills. Even if it's not Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs have found a way to make him effective as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too is it speaks to the system, how well that the offensive coaches are of teaching these guys different spots. I know I have heard, and you may be able to shed a little light on it, that kind of all receivers are required to know all spots. And that's what maybe takes a few guys a little bit longer to see the field and have an impact. But when you get in a night like that, where it's a war of attrition and you got guys dropping like flies, to be able to plug guys in maybe spots that were not designed for them originally, that's the payoff from that approach.
That's going to be all for the details this week. For Brett, this is Jesse. Be sure to tune in for another episode in 2 weeks.